I read 4 books this month, so let's talk about it. I didn't technically read this one this month. I read the second one, but I let a friend borrow it, and so I'm just using this book to show you that I read a book from this series. All of these are technically YA, although they're kind of upper YA. We have 1 dystopian, 1 historical high romantasy, and 2 paranormal contemporaries. And these 2 are part of the same series. Let's start off with Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, and that's because this was my book club pick of the month. I have a book club. It's called Nerds of a Quill, and you guys can find it almost anywhere. Goodreads, Fable, Storygraph, or on my Discord. All the links should be on my bio. Now, normally when I have a book club pick, I tend to not do established series except one time, but that was because I didn't realize it was a spin-off of another big series. We'll get to that later. But I just think that Suzanne Collins' work is so incredible, and there's just so much good commentary that I think other people should read about, and I was just so excited, so excited to read this one. So I made a bit of an exception. And also, technically, yes, it's a spin-off, and yes, if you read the other ones in the order that she published them, you'll probably get a bit more from this one, but technically speaking, you could consider this as a standalone, technically. Although I would recommend you reading in the order that she published, which was the original 3 Hunger Games, and then the one that goes before this Hunger Games, which is the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and then this one, just because you can get more of it. So let me read to you what it's about, and then we will discuss. When you've been set up to lose everything you love, what is there left to fight for? As the day dawns on the 50th annual Hunger Games, fear grips the districts of Panem. This year, in honor of the Quarter Quell, twice as many tributes will be taken from their homes. Back in District 12, Hamish Abernathy is trying not to think too hard about his chances. All he cares about is making it through the day and being with the girl he loves. When Hamish's name is called, he can feel all his dreams break. He's torn from his family and his love, shuttled to the capital with the 3 other District 12 tributes, a young friend who's nearly a sister to him, a compulsive oddsmaker, and the most stuck-up girl in town. As the games begin, Hamish understands he's been set up to fail, but there's something in him that wants to fight, and have that fight reverberate far beyond the deadly arena. This book was something else, was something else, truly. So essentially it follows Hamish, and for those of you who read the original trilogy or saw the original movies, then you will know Hamish. Hamish is Katniss and Peeta's mentor, so he is a previous district winner, and he then has to mentor all the other kids that get reaped. And normally there's like a rotation of past victors that mentor the new kids that were reaped, but because District 12 doesn't really have a line of victors, it's just Hamish, kind of, but in the original Hunger Games, there's just Hamish. Then he is kind of forced to be the mentor each and every time, and as you guys know, if you did read the original books or saw the original movies, is that there hasn't been another winner since him, and so he has watched all those kids die for 20 plus years. 2 kids each year by the time Katniss and Peeta come along. And he is a drunk, and he's very apathetic and all that stuff, until suddenly he switches. And so this is his story. This is him when he got reaped into the Hunger Games, and he got reaped in a very unfortunate year, which is the 50th year of the Hunger Games. And so they always do something very special every Quarter Games, and in his it was that there would be 4 kids chosen, 2 boys, 2 girls, rather than 1 boy and 1 girl from each of the 12 districts. This is just a story of somebody who feels helpless but wants to go out and do something memorable because, you know, he is sure he's going to die, and this is what he wants to leave his loved ones with. He wants to leave them with something good to remember him by. There's not much I can say about it without spoiling without spoiling everything. It's very hard to put into words what this book made me feel, at least not, you know, without getting a whole video just dedicated to this book and all the themes and everything about it. So instead, what I'll do is, I don't know why, I think I wanted to send it to a friend. I did take a picture of my reaction after I had semi-calmed down after reading the book. And so I will put that there. Yes, and so that's what this book made me feel. Other people read it before I did because the book came out the month prior, like towards the end, but I wanted to wait to make this my book club pick, so I waited to read it. So I already kind of knew that everyone was like feeling very emotional about it, and I was getting towards the end and I was feeling two things. One, I was like, okay, I'm doing okay. Like everyone was like crying or whatever, I think I'm doing okay. One, two, I was feeling dread because I was like, why the fuck was everyone crying so much? And why have I not? I cry over books all the time. It doesn't take much. What I thought was going to make me cry was actually not what made me cry. I won't say what it was. It wasn't like a big event. It was just a very beautiful line. Very beautiful but heartbreaking and daunting line that was written. Something about that line I think finally got me. Obviously, none of the Hunger Games are like feel-good stories, but I think they're important and I think they're worth it. So that was my thoughts on the book club picks, and I'm very glad that I made it a pick, and I hope that that encourages other people to read them and also read the other ones if you have not read them already. Next is Blood and Honey by Shelby Mahurin, which is the second one for this series, Serpent and Dove. Like I said, I let my friend borrow it, so it's not in my possession right now. And essentially what happened was that I chose another book by Shelby Mahurin as my book club pick like last month. And then I realized that it was a spin-off of this series, and then I realized that I actually never finished the series. I only read the first two books, so I made it my mission to reread the series, finish it, and so then I can go back and actually read that series. So this was me just basically rereading what I have reread. I won't say too much about what this second book is about because I don't want to spoil it for everyone. I will read what the first book is about and then give you non-spoilery thoughts of the second one. Also, it's signed. Bound as one to love, honor, or burn. A witch and a witch hunter thrust into holy matrimony. There was only one way such a story could end. A stake and a match. This is a historical romantasy. It follows Lou, who is a witch, and this is sometime in France, and in this timeline people know that witches and other paranormal creatures exist, but the church and the crown, they're very against it. They have people basically dedicated to hunt these creatures down, especially the witches, and the main love interest, Reed, is one of these witch hunters. Through a series of events, Lou and Reed are kind of forced to get married. He doesn't know that she's a witch when he marries her. He thinks she is a common thief, which also means he hates her, just not as much as a witch, and he's not trying to actively kill her, which he would if he found out that she was a witch. I won't again say much of what happens in this book, but I will say that Blood and Honey was just a fantastic continuation of the book. The world is extremely rich. It's both like you feel you are in France, and then at the same time you feel like you're in a completely new universe. So that is just a fantastic way that Shelby writes. She's also very good about getting into both of their heads because this is told in dual POVs. It's very distinct, Lou's POV and Reed's POV, and they each have to go on a very specific journey, not only together but separate. The last book ends very cliffhangery. So this one picks up, and the thing with Shelby is that she doesn't waste time. Right away you're in the action, right away you're like going for it. Second books can sometimes feel like they're dragging a little bit because they're not as fast-paced as the first one, but I felt that Blood and Honey actually moved also fairly quickly. I felt like it was less about like the plot and more about the emotions, which was fantastic. I love that kind of stuff, so I definitely recommend. Then we have Blood Debts and Blood Justice. They are the same series. This is the first one and this is the second one. I chose a series because I actually got to interview Terry J. Benton-Walker. I had a feeling that I was going to interview him because I had actually met him at an event several months ago. I went to a book signing event for another author. Her name is Bridget Kemmerer, and a lot of times in book signing events they invite local authors that have a similar vibe, and they are usually the ones that are asking the other authors questions. And so I really enjoyed what he was saying about his book. Then there was another event that he was going to do for the paperback release of Blood Justice, and it was super chill event that was more of like a round table, like over snacks and drinks and stuff like that, and he just answered all sorts of questions, and it was super intimate and fantastic. And so after reading Blood Depth and seeing him in this very intimate event where it was much more focused on him, I knew that he was gonna be a fantastic guest. I read Blood Justice basically right away so that I could interview him, and all of this happened this month. So Blood Depth and Blood Justice all in one. They are fantastic read. They are contemporary paranormal. They are based in New Orleans. There is magic there, and magic is also known. I'm going to read to you what Blood Depth is about. It's also very hard for me to say the word depth. I don't know how to say that word. But 30 years ago, a young woman was murdered. A family was lynched, and New Orleans saw the greatest magical massacre in its history. In the days that followed, a throne was stolen from a queen. On the anniversary of these brutal events, Clement and Christina Trudeau, the 16-year-old twin heirs to the powerful, magical, dethroned family, discover their mother is cursed by someone on the very magic council their family used to rule. Someone who will come for them next. Chris swore off magic for good after a spell she cast turned fatal, and Clem treats magic like a distraction from his anger and pain. Even better than the random guys he hooks up with. Chris and Clem used to be each other's most trusted confidant and friends, and now they barely speak. But if they have any hope of discovering who is coming after their family, they'll have to find a way to trust each other and their family's magic, all while solving the decades-old murder that sparked the still rising tensions between the city's magical and non-magical communities. And if they don't succeed, New Orleans may see another massacre, or worse. It is absolutely incredible. So yeah, it follows these twins who again are the descendants of the person that used to rule their magical community in New Orleans, and that's the queen basically. And in this world, the author created these different factors of magic and different factors of who practices what magic and what each magic does. And he takes inspiration from a lot of existing types of magic, and also existing cultures and existing racial tensions, and it essentially feels very much as to how people would react to certain things if everyone knew magic was just out there, right? It doesn't mean that everyone has magic, but of the people that do, there are certain magics that are, let's say, accepted, and others that are not. And please note the color of their skin. Race is not the main point of the story, but he does such a good job of just showing us the experience that these teenagers face in general, because this is a contemporary story, but also what they would experience in a more paranormal, fantastical sense. But it's also a story of family and generational trauma, and how not healing certain things could then mean that you pass on certain traumas and certain burdens onto other members of your family, like through generations. It is also a story about two people who are grieving and are deeply hurt by the death of their father, and how they are coping with everything that is happening, and the different paths that they take, the different choices that they make, whether it be more introspective or more revengeful or this or that. They both handle it very different. So he is, I would say, very character driven. He does a really good job about getting into emotions and feelings. And as somebody who is not a teenager anymore, I'm very much an adult, I didn't feel that these characters were too young for me to understand at all. I actually felt a lot of the things that they were feeling and some of the ways that they were coping with this were things that I had seen myself, that I've experienced myself, that I have felt myself. And so it was just a wonderful, wonderful journey. I won't get much into Blood Justice because I don't want to spoil it, but it does pick up basically immediately after Blood Depths happened. They managed to right some wrongs in Blood Depths, but there is still a lot of work to be done when it comes to things like generational trauma and generational prejudice and all of that. It's never just an easy and quick fix. So Blood Justice is picking it up right after, and the series is not done yet, but it is still very, very good. Recommend. I am so glad that I went to that signing, and I love going to signings for big authors when they have smaller authors or debut authors or whatever, when they have them as partners. It's such a great way to discover new authors, and I'm so glad that I got to discover Terry, because not only is he a fantastic writer and storyteller, but he's just a great person, and he was so happy to answer questions about writing and to help out, and so it was great. And he made a fantastic guest. So if you want to hear more about us going way more deep into his book without too much really spoiling anything, more in depth about his writing style, his writing process, etc., please go check out my podcast. It's called The Nerd Tea. You can find it basically everywhere that you get your podcasts, including YouTube and Spotify if you actually want to watch it, not just listen to it. And it goes into all of that. Those were the books that I read this month. It was a really good month, a variety of things to read, honestly. It was pretty good. Hopefully, I have convinced you to read at least one of them, if not all of them, and please let me know. And don't forget to check out some of my other videos showing what other books I have read this month. Also to join my book club, again on Goodreads, Storygraph, Fable, or you could just go to my Discord and I have all of that in there. Also to check out The Nerd Tea if you want to hear about more books from the authors themselves. Happy reading! See you on the next page.